nail down. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Justin Elick breaking down tonight's pitching slate. It's not a particularly exciting one. We do have a couple options up top, and then probably one option that won't even make it to the hill tonight because he'll be probably long gone to the Bronx.
Yeah, I mean, there's speculation that he could be going somewhere else, and they push the start back one day, probably so they can try to get even more for him. I mean, in the negotiation, but what do you say, 5% chance that he takes the hill tonight? Because, I mean, he's going to be gone.
Yeah, I don't think he makes the hill, and we're talking about Sonny Gray if you haven't figured it out by now, but I don't see it happening. I think he's going to go somewhere else for sure, and I think that team is going to be the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, depending on who will fill in, I mean, maybe we get a decent, cheap option, but it's not like Oakland is exactly full of a bunch of pitching talent that we're just waiting to play despite this pretty decent matchup. So, I mean, I really don't think that I don't really have any desire to throw anybody back in if they get this start even with that matchup. So I think I'll just avoid it.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not like, oh, hey, we can just move Tim Hudson or Mark Mulder up a day and start pitching. It's not like that rotation's there anymore.
Tim Hudson.
Dude, those were really good rotations.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah,
but yeah, either way, I mean, as awesome of a spot as it is for Sonny Gray, he's not going to be pitching tonight. So if by some stupid decision Oakland doesn't trade him, I mean, you play him. I think he's top option easily tonight. But it's, like we said, it's not going to happen. So just pretend like he's not on this slate.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Self-exclude.
Let's talk Severino here. He's your kind of other expensive option going up against the Detroit team. Really low run total. This lineup's obviously, without JD Martinez, it's pretty right-handed heavy. I mean, Victor Martinez and Andrew Romine are your only lefties. So this is a really good spot for Severino.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, looking at the last 7 days, I mean, Tigers tied for the lowest number of home runs in the league. They don't really have much speed. I mean, they got a 91 WRC plus and a 114 ISO over last week. I know small sample size, but just trying to, just show what they're not doing without JD Martinez. And I mean, he really was their best hitter. I mean, Miggy's not the hitter he once was. Victor Martinez has those random days, and Upton's having a good season. Castellanos has been pretty good, but I mean, I think assuming that Sonny Gray's not going to play, I mean, Severino's the guy you got to play in your cash games. I don't think it's really particularly close. I think if you got the one pitcher, FanDuel, I think Severino you have to play. And I think on DraftKings, I mean, he's got to be one of your two in cash games. Like that, there's no way around it. He's got that decent strikeout floor, even if he does give up a couple runs. So on this slate, I think he's the obvious option now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you look at basically the front five of these hitters. I think that's where obviously any pitcher can get roughed up a little bit, but I think he's fine tonight. And I just look at after. I mean, Victor Martinez hasn't been that guy, and you get James McCann, Andrew Romine, Jose Iglesias, Mickey Matuk. I mean, that's 5-6 guys that he should easily dominate tonight. So 12.5% swinging strike rate, 28% ground ball rate, 52% ground ball rate, 28% strikeout rate. I think I'm definitely in agreement that he lines up because as a top option, we know he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and I do think there's some merit to making yourself a small stack of those top 4 or 5 Tigers hitters. Maybe if you're making multiple lineups. Certainly if you're making 2 or 3, you're not doing that. But if you're multi-entering, I mean, I'll probably throw one in just in case Severino gets blown up because you figure with Gray probably not pitching tonight, he's going to have, 60% ownership probably in some games. So you got to figure that there's a lot of merit to that, sub probably 2% stack.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, especially if you're always hedging with multiple lineups. Other guys tonight, I mean, I think there's really 2 other safer options. We'll talk about Gio Gonzalez. He's on the road against Miami. Miami's offense, obviously, you brought it up before the show. They're super inflated just because of that huge outing. I mean, this is still not a team that strikes out a ton. That's kind of my downfall, but Gio has pitched well against them already this year.
Yeah, I mean, a team that against left-handed pitching, they've been, I guess, in terms of WOBA, WRC plus, slightly above average ISO also, but like you said, only a 20% strikeout rate. But, they also have one of the lowest walk rates against left-handed pitching at 7.3%. So that's really been the biggest Achilles heel for Gio his whole career. And I mean, I know Yelich has been hot. He doesn't hit lefties nearly as well as he hits righties, of course. Of course, you got Giancarlo Stanton, who's been just an absolute monster. But, Gio's already faced him twice. Once was his first start of the season. 7 strikeouts over 6 innings, no earned. Faced him again in June, 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, 3 earned. So, I mean, he really does have a pretty good floor. I mean, he's only had really 2 bad outings all year. And, in this spot on a slate where there's really not a lot of options, I think it's going to be one of those ones where we see a lot of one-off guys in kind of similar lineups with Severino. You're going to see guys like, I feel like Nelson Cruz will see some ownership. Stanton, of course, will because he's facing a lefty, but even though it's a pretty good lefty. But, even if Stanton does take him deep tonight, I still think he's a fairly safe bet for a quality start, probably 6, 7 strikeouts. And I mean, I don't really see any way he's not a top 5 scorer tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think that says also a lot about the slate, just where he's at. And I think that's kind of baked into his price tag as well. I know he's been pitching well, but even a Gio Gonzalez that, is pitching like this, I don't think he deserves an 11-2 price tag on DraftKings. FanDuel, I think he's playable, obviously, but I like him. I like Charlie Morton better, but I think if you're playing ownerships, I think Gonzalez will come in obviously lower owned because he's one more expensive, and Charlie Morton also gets a strikeout happy team in Tampa. I like Gio. I don't know how much he's going to be a part of my lineups tonight just because of the price.
Yeah, I mean so a lot of those DraftKings prices are really tough tonight, and Morton's a guy that we've both been on this year, and he's a guy that I feel like, to people who have been around for a while in DFS or even just fantasy in general, you see Charlie Morton and you think low strikeout, upside, ground ball pitcher, struggles against lefties, but he's not that guy anymore. And I mean, his numbers, his contact rates are just insanely good. I mean, over the last 30 days, 34.9% soft hit rate, which is almost double every pitcher on this slate, which is insane. I mean, putting in perspective, 18% for Sonny Gray, who's been incredible. And then his hard hit rate, 17.5%. So he's striking guys out 26% on the year, not giving up hard contact at all. I mean, even when he does give up some base runners, because walk rate's still higher than you like, plenty of ground balls because he doesn't give up that hard contact. So, this Tampa Bay lineup, it's very boom or bust. It's all upside. I mean, lots of power, but even the guys who just came back, Brad Miller strikes out a ton. I mean, it's still a lineup that swings and misses a lot. So I'm still a big fan of his here.
Yeah, I love Morton. As you mentioned, Rays 26 in WOBA over the last 30 days, 26% strikeout rate. That doesn't really change against righties either. They are higher in WOBA, nice, obviously. But 25% strikeout rate. I mean, this is one of those ones where, Rays have some guys who can, hit some homers, especially in that ballpark where, say, he gives up 200 or 300 runs. Morton's a guy who I can easily see striking out 7+ tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, even with the home run issues, among tonight's slate, it's not like Morton is a guy who's given up a ton of home runs. I mean, he's done a decent job of keeping the ball in the park, which obviously, that low of a hard contact rate, it makes sense. So it seems like he's still, one of the safer options on tonight's slate, kind of by default.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think him and Severino are my favorite. One more note about Gio. There's definitely some regression coming. That 2.81 ERA isn't going to last forever. His FIP, ERA/X are all over 4. I don't think that happens tonight, but Marlins righties might actually not be a bad stack if you're going contrarian either.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, and especially with Stanton, I mean, it's not going to take much. If we see that wild Gio, I know Stanton's been hitting second. I kind of wish that he was hitting a little low in the order. I mean, even if it was just third, because you could get, a little bloop single for D. Gordon, get somebody else ahead of him. I mean, all it takes is one long ball. But definitely, if you're not playing Gio, you're still going to want some exposure to Stanton himself. Because if I'm guessing, I'd say he's one of the top 2, 3 highest owned hitters on the slate, maybe even number 1.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there. Outside of that, I mean, we talked about all the expensive guys. Is there anyone really cheap that you like? I mean, God, these are all just bad spots for ARBs that you might be able to take chances on if it's elsewhere.
I mean, I don't love any of these cheap guys. I mean, if you were talking like the absolute bottom of the barrel, I mean, it's Stack City. I mean, Fister's terrible, Kane's terrible, Shields you can just laugh. Jose Urena facing, probably the best offense in baseball right now in terms of health, since, Houston's missing some big bats. He's got to face this Washington team that hit like 9 home runs in a row the other day.
Yeah.
And I mean, he just literally has not been good. He had that one good start against the Reds. I mean, but he's awful. And I know it's a big ballpark, but the kind of power these guys have, it doesn't matter. He's horrible. Baldo Jimenez facing Kansas City, who might be the hottest offense in baseball, at least close. I'm not an Estrada fan. All those fly balls, I know it's pretty much a AAA lineup now, but I won't be playing. I mean, Mike Clevenger, I guess, is the guy I'd go if I'm going cheap. I don't like to target guys against Boston because they don't strike out a ton, but I mean, they've been a bottom 5 offense over the past probably month right now. And we were looking at those contact rates. I mean, he's got 13% swing strike rate. He's missing a ton of bats. I mean, somehow this guy looks like he's a legit, I mean, talent-wise, one of the better pitchers on this slate. And I mean, that at Boston is going to kind of keep people away. But I think if I'm going cheap, he's really the only guy I'm interested in down there.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely a DraftKings play only for me because of the price tag and one. I just don't think I need to go there on FanDuel. I think with Morton right there, Gio, those are probably the 2 that I'd stay with just because the pricing's pretty close. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm with you. I think overall, Vegas always bakes up those Vegas run totals for Boston. I just never buy into them. Yeah, Boston, I mean, 29th, they've been basically as bad as the Giants have been over the last month or so. And you can get away with using guys against them. If this was like a 15-game slate, I'd stay away. But because it's a little bit shorter and just the pitching options are so bad, I don't mind them.
I wonder how profitable betting the under on the Boston team total has been this year, because we talk about that all the time. And it seems like them and the Cubs, maybe not so much recently with the Cubs, but first half of the season with Boston and the Cubs, I bet if you bet the team under every time, you probably really are winning 80% of the bets, like Weatherman on Twitter.
It's true. I mean, these big market teams, they do get those high totals. For me, I mean, there's no reason why they should have a higher run total than Washington tonight.
Yeah, that's insane. Washington, like the top stack of the night.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. One name I do want to mention here, I'm still intrigued with Danny Duffy. I think the more I'm looking into it, he can still miss some bats. I think the strikeout rate is going to be on the rise. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. Everything kind of lines up. I mean, the fly ball rate's scary. Obviously, that's an issue. But Baltimore has been just so bad against lefties.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said with that walk rate, I mean, by far the best on this slate. I mean, last 30 days, his strikeout rate's down, but 2% walk rate. I mean, it's not a very patient team anyway. So you got to imagine that he's got that strikeout upside in this one, even though he really hasn't shown it of late. But I mean, you look at recently, I mean, the games that he's played in, I mean, he's faced Detroit twice. That's a team that doesn't strike out a ton. Texas, a team that does strike out a lot. And they didn't strike out much in that one, only 4 times, but he went 8 1/3 in that. Los Angeles, that's a tough matchup, but he got 9 strikeouts there. So it hasn't seemed like it, but that strikeout upside is definitely still there for Duffy. I know you were saying before the show you wish this was at Kauffman, and I do too, but that could keep him, maybe 5% owned on this slate, which is definitely intriguing for a guy that, he could pitch deep or he could get a bunch of strikeouts and maybe even both.
Yeah, and I'm looking at like the games of Pick'em against Ubaldo Jimenez, and you mentioned how good the Royals' offense has been of late. I don't know. You should get plenty of run support here. Duffy's a guy, he's had a blow up or 2, but he's usually a guy that just doesn't completely go out and crap the bed. But I don't mind him here. I think GPPs, he's worth that shot because I think for the most part, people are going to be scared off of him. And in terms of a cheap guy, I mean, I feel better about him than some of these other guys of Cole Hamels, even, or Felix Hernandez, who have, had better track records.
Yeah, and I mean, you figure Duffy's biggest Achilles heel in his career has been giving up home runs to righties, which has been what's, kept me and a lot of people off him over the years. But this year he's got a .67 home runs per 9 allowed to right-handed batters. And only an 18% strikeout rate, but that was literally his one big weakness. And now, I mean, among this slate, that's the 4th best rate of home runs per 9 against right-handed batters. So, I mean, I know some of these guys, Adam Jones, Machado, like they have that upside, but this is probably the most boomer bust lineup. And I don't know, I feel like I'd rather be on the pitcher side of this one more often than not.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's kind of that GPP pivot away from some of the other names just because he's on the cheaper side. And really, I mean, you and I, Cole Hamels, Felix Hernandez in Texas, that's, some big names, but that's just not a spot, not offenses I want to use him against.
And Cole Hamels sucks.
Yeah, that mustache is pretty sweet. I'm gonna get the mustache going pretty soon here.
Yeah, you're gonna go down to just the mustache?
Yeah, and I'm gonna get little Raleigh fingers and just kind of,
You got to work on that BABIP too. Get that BABIP down real low. get real low like for that one.
Yeah, no, Cole Hamels 362 right now.
Yeah, you got to work on that.
Oh man, sorry, Hamels 234. He's got 234 BABIP.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been lucky. That's how scary it is.
He is. I don't know if he's. I think he's the best bad pitcher. I'm not going to say worst good pitcher because he's not good anymore.
Yeah.
Don't at me, bro.
That's until Jose Urena throws 7 shutout innings tonight.
There is a 0% chance that happens, right? Least likely quality start tonight. I say it's Jose Urena.
Least likely?
Least likely. Of all the pitchers tonight, least likely to throw a quality start.
That's got to be Shields. It's Fister. No, it's going to be – between Fister and Shields for me.
What about Matt Cain?
Matt Cain's in there too, but for some reason, he could go out there and just give up a ton of hard contact and get lucky with a couple foul balls in the big foul ground, a couple warning track shots. That's more likely than Shields doing that in U.S. Cellular or I don't know who else.
Fister can get some well-placed line drives right into gloves.
Oh, God, Yobato, dude, this is such a horrible slate.
It's a bad slate. There's going to be a lot of scoring tonight.
Yeah, those stacks are going to be popular.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, so to recap here, Sonny Gray come in as a top option, but on the likeliness that he doesn't pitch, it's just kind of one of those ones where I don't even know if I could trust it if news is out. If 7 o'clock's around, it's I would have to wait until 10 basically, and there's no one late that you could even swap to.
Yeah, I don't think they are beyond stupid if they don't trade him. He will get traded.
Yeah. After that, Morton, Gio, Severino are kind of your next 3 options. And then Duffy and Clevenger are kind of those 2 are cheap guys that we don't mind.
Yep.
Let's go wrap it up. You can head over to DaveFantasyCafe.com, check out the great tools and content.